You want a war? You're gonna get one.
Now get the guns, the drugs from my generation. I'll take the fall, the saints, the confirmation. Yeah, it's a sex, the gods, the fakes, the fraud, the messing with me. Come on, come on, come on. Let's get it out. Move to the music, play that fucking music. Live through my music, yeah.
Welcome back to Reliving the War, and welcome back to the 8th of June 1998. Tonight, Raw's War comes from Rockford, Illinois, while Nitro takes place in Auburn Hills, Michigan. We are days away from the 1998 Great American Bash, and we've got a lot of NWO nonsense to check out today, so let's begin with Nitro's Unopposed Hour. Before we do that though, today's jam-up guy is Daniel Chang. Daniel met up with Paul Bearer's son Kane while wearing his sweet Super Chinlocks 2 Turbo shirt, and he instantly struck fear into the heart of the Big Red Machine. Thank you very much, Daniel, for sending in your photo. Right, let's see what's going on over on WCW Nitro. Mike Tenay was outside the building asking little boys what they thought about Sting joining the Wolfpac and who they think was going to join next. The lads are having a mid-card barbecue, and Mike Tenay says this.
And it looks like they're grilling up some hamburgers and some bratwurst. Bratwurst.
I think I might take a big sausage from Alex Wright.
Oh, big bratwurst.
Our guy here thinks Sting belongs in the Wolfpac, and he thinks Diamond Dallas Page will be the next WCW superstar to join the Red and Black. Curtains over here thinks the NWO's too sweet, and so's DDP. Dallas teamed up with Lex Luger on Thunder, and everyone thinks Page is going to join the Wolfpac sooner rather than later. So Curtains might be onto something here. The Wolfpac come down to the ring, and there he is, really embarrassed Sting. This is how your face looks when your wife catches you watching Glacier matches. Seriously though, some folks have a real problem with red-faced Sting, but I couldn't care less. He and the Red and Black get in the ring, and Nash says there's some serious business to take care of tonight. Wolfpac business. Kev says he nearly walked out of wrestling 5 years ago, but DDP believed in him. So tonight, Nash wants to give Page an offer to join NWO Wolfpac. The vote was almost unanimous among the group. Randy Savage didn't really want Page in, but there's a spot in the Wolfpac for Dallas if Dallas wants to take it. Nash remembers that DDP didn't want to join the Black and White last year, but tonight DDP just can't turn down this opportunity to join the Dream Team. Kevin's mic then gets cut off, and Hollywood Hogan seen at the control desk along with Dennis Rodman, Bret Hart and Eric Bischoff. The boys are at the DJ booth dropping some sick tracks, and to screw around with the Wolfpac, Rodman sets off some pyro. Bischoff thinks this is the best thing ever. Hogan tells Rodman to turn the lights off, and he says this is the best way to see the Wolfpac, as in, not at all. It's almost like a Hulk Hogan Chinese proverb, guys. Rodman ends the promo by cutting the feed off for a commercial break, and we come back to Conan complaining to James J. Baby Dillon. Conan wants to know what Dillon's going to do about Hogan's antics, and Dillon tells Conan it's the Wolfpac's problem. Dillon's going to do the Wolfpac no favours, and Conan's like, alright, fair enough. Wrestling's most charismatic man, Jerry Flynn, jobbed out next to Yuji Nagata. The Nagata lock made Flynn Balor top out. Yuji Nagata chants at the World Heavyweight title, brother. Chris Jericho got in touch with Ted Turner in regards to the conspiracy, and Turner sent a response to Chris via registered mail. Chris says this is it, the answer to all his problems. He opens up the letter and he reads it out. Turner congratulates Chris for being such a tenacious wrestler, and Ted's wife Jane's also a big fan of the Ayatollah. She sends her regards, and Chris thinks Jane's a sweetheart. Ted watched Slamboree and he says Jericho's cruiserweight title loss wasn't by the book. Therefore, Dean Malenko should not be the champion. However, Jericho's whining and complaining sickens billionaire Ted, so Turner agrees with Dillon. Tough luck, Dean Malenko is still cruiserweight champion. Chris can't believe it, Uncle Ted has no interest in helping him out, and all Chris can do is wipe away his tears with Turner's expensive paper of which this letter of pure denial was written on. Horace Boulder and Reese's Extra Smooth and Creamy took on the tag team of Van Hammer and Juventud Guerrera, making Hoovy look like an absolute god among a sea of mediocrity. The match wasn't good, the only real highlights were Hoovy taking out Reese with this springboard teabag, and he then pulled pulled off a springboard leg drop on Horace. Reese then got the win for Team Flock with his double-handed chokeslam. Nothing to see here, let's move on. Hollywood Hogan's got his own private room with drinks and random women from the mean streets of Auburn Hills. He, Bischoff, the Giant, Bret Hart, the Booty Man, and Dennis Rodman are having a great old time as Hogan drops more Chinese proverbs on people who really don't want to hear them. He tells Rodman he who scratches Booty Man ends up with smelly fingers, and then Hogan sends a message to Kevin Nash. Remember all those powerbomb fines that Hulk paid for? Remember when Big Kev was dropping everyone with jackknives when the powerbomb was outlawed? Yeah, well, Hogan's sending the bill to Big Kev. Nash owes Hulk a lot of money. Dennis drops some ash on this lady right here and he starts wiping down her dress. She wants Rodzilla to rub a little higher and Hogan gets more excited than Dennis. What a rat. Hogan then says the second biggest man in Hollywood gets revealed later on. Don't get your hopes up though, it's nothing special really. And the promo ends with Hogan telling the cameraman to switch the camera off because the lads have some serious business to take care of, if you know what I mean. There's gonna be a hot, hardcore, sweaty, intense game of Monopoly in the NWO's private room. JJ Dillon then addresses the tag team titles. Sting and the Giant are still tag champions, but at the Great American Bash, these two men will fight each other and whoever wins the match will claim both tag team titles. The winner can then choose a partner and whoever gets chosen will get instantly recognized as a new WCW tag team champion. Raw starts with a Vince McMahon promo. On Nitro, Eddie Guerrero takes on Scott Putski. The WWF are getting fond of these McMahon promos to kick off their Monday night shows, aren't they? This time, McMahon, Briscoe and Patterson are in tuxedos because it's a night of celebration. McMahon stands before us as a humble man with generosity, caring and sharing in his heart. Vince says we only see one side of him, the side we see on TV, the successful businessman who, when necessary, displays his Herculean physicality. What a guy. But tonight we get to meet the true Vince McMahon. As a result of the contributions he's made to charitable organisations, a few representatives of those charitable organisations are going to present Mr. McMahon with the Humanatarian of the Year award. Fans in the arena are invited to join in, fans at home are invited to watch the ceremony, and Stone Cold Steve Austin has also been invited. Jim Ross thinks something's going on, it has to be a setup, but I guess we'll find out a little later on. Over on Nitro, Eddie tells fans at home that his nephew Chavo's going to wrestle Bill Goldberg tonight, so that means Eddie has a night off at the pay-per-view. Guerrero and Putski then get to work in the ring, and gotta say, Scott Putski's falling backdrop here looked pretty great. Eddie replies with a drop toe hold followed by a drop kick. He then hits Scott with a back elbow in the corner. Eddie then performs a snapmare followed by another low drop kick, and then Scott finds himself in an abdominal stretch. Putski breaks free and he pulls off a German suplex. Eddie's landing looked a bit rough here, but Eddie shakes it off and he performs his vaulting front senton from the apron. Scott answers with a press slam, but his second attempt gets countered with a sleeper. Scott tries to get out with a back suplex, but Eddie counters again. Eddie's just all over Mr. Putski here, but then Chavo shows up and Eddie again runs away from his nephew. Scott isn't happy about Chavo interfering in his match, so Chavo sucker punches Putski and he begins stalking Eddie back up the ramp. I'm so looking forward to this Chavo vs Eddie match. Chavo acting like an absolute madman is top tier WCW nonsense and I love it. The NWO cut promos next on Nitro, while over on Raw we've got Kama vs Ken Shamrock. The Raw match is a King of the Ring qualifier, and here's the matches we're going to see tonight. The WWF are calling Kama the Godfather Kama, so he still hasn't fully transitioned into a fully fledged pimp, but we're slowly getting there. The Nation gets sent to the back as usual. Kama gets the better of Shamrock at the opening bell, and the commentators wonder if Shamrock's fully healed up after his ankle injury. Kenny Boy pulls off a crossbody followed by a jumping back elbow and a jumping hip attack. Kama then counters a Hurricane Rana with a powerbomb, and the Godfather's going to focus on that injured ankle for a bit. Shamrock counters a half Boston Crab with an ankle lock, but Kama makes it to the ropes. Kama again targets the ankle and Shamrock's now limping around the ring. The big man thinks he has it all figured out after a shoulder block, but he ends up running right into the ankle lock and Ken Shamrock advances in the King of the Ring. D'Lo attacks Shamrock after the match and Kenny Boy gets saved by Dan the Man Severn. Severn faces D'Lo later on in the King of the Ring tournament, but we really need a Shamrock vs Severn match. Jim Ross says there's a chance that these two could meet each other in the final, so we'll just have to wait and see what happens. After this, D-Generation X took to the streets of New York the day of a recent live event. They acted like absolute buffoons by mocking a street vendor who DX assumed was from Pakistan, not even joking. They found some random woman who got her bops out for the cameras, and something tells me this lady might do this kind of thing for a living. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Road Dogg got a good view of his own face while looking through some binoculars, and these little clips played throughout the entire episode of Raw without getting much better. There's enough here to annoy some people though, let's just leave it at that. Over on Nitro, Nash addresses Hogan wanting that jackknife money, and Kevin says the Wolfpac sold around 5,000 red and black shirts tonight, so maybe the boys can cut Hogan in on the merch sales. Hogan likes to make fun of Nash's skinny legs, so Kevin says not all of his legs are skinny if you smell what the Nash is cooking. Finally, Kevin says Hogan's money's in a Swiss bank account. Down where? Down there. And yeah, Nash is now acting like he's straight out of Compton and he's about to drop his new mixtape filled with straight up hood classics from the likes of Bon Jovi and Tom Petty. I understand why he's doing it, but he didn't need to do it either. He even says, "Hey Rodman, why are you hanging around with White Boys R Us?" I mean, Kev, you do know... Moving on, speaking of fire mixtapes, Eric Bischoff and the Giant are at the DJ booth, and while Bischoff says he's having fun being so close to his home in Detroit, he's gonna have a lot more fun when the Giant gets his hands on Sting at the Great American Bash. Giant says everyone wanted to get Sting on their team last week, but now that he thinks about it, the Giant wonders why. Sting's nothing compared to a 7'4", 510-pound Giant. Giant then says when you catch an insect, you usually start pulling its limbs off. No mate, that's what serial killers do. But anyway, Giant's gonna pull Sting's arms and legs off like the little bug he is. Lovely. Absolutely lovely. We aren't done with the NWO promos though. Rick Rude, Kurt Hennig and Conan come out, and Rick Rude says Goldberg has only one fear, the fear of defeat. Rude's here to tell Goldberg that these three men refuse to be victims on Goldberg's path of destruction, and Hennig pretty much confirms that he won't be cleared in time to wrestle Goldberg at the Great American Bash, so Conan's been slotted in for the pay-per-view. Conan gives Goldberg props. He says the undefeated streak has been very impressive, but Conan plans on winning the US title and bringing it back to the Wolfpac. So there you go. If you were looking forward to Hennig versus Goldberg, then forget about it. Next on Raw, Steve Blackman and Faarooq take on Mark Mero and Double J. On Nitro, the Best of 7 series continues with Booker T versus Chris Benoit. Steve Blackman simply needs to win this match. The woman he loves is watching from ringside. The giant robot monsters join forces with Double J, even though Cyborg Justice isn't here tonight due to a malfunction at the junction. Steve simply has to get the victory, or he might start doubting how much of a top tier legend he really is. Faarooq gives Blackman a head start by hitting Mero with a spine buster. Steve-O tags in, and he gets to show Mero and Jacqueline some exciting wrist action. He loses focus for a moment though, and Mero pokes him in his laser eye. Double J comes in with a forearm across the back, and flashbacks of that country concert at Unforgiven send Blackman into a rage. The absolute madman hits Jarrett with a ton of strikes before putting him down with a glorious spinning back kick. He feels a little tickle when Double J hits him with a Russian leg sweep and a drop kick. We see the motherfucking chest chop, and Blackman tries to end it with a power slam, but Mero breaks up the cover. All four men begin fighting, but it's Blackman and Faarooq who end up running into each other. Mero decides to brag to Jacqueline about how good he is, so Faarooq knocks Jeff into Mero and Blackman covers Double J. Blackman gets redemption by pinning Jarrett, and with this victory, Big Stevie Cool's back with a vengeance. Tennessee Jason Lee is absolutely fuming. He would never let a valet distract him during a match. Nope, that sort of thing never happened in WCW. Over on Nitro, we've got match number 6 of the Best of 7 series, and Benoit leads 3 matches to 2. Booker T defeated Chris on Thunder this past week with a missile dropkick, so there's a chance this series might not get resolved before the Great American Bash. If Benoit can't beat Booker tonight, then the final match is going to happen at the pay-per-view, meaning the winner has to wrestle twice at the Bash because they'll also get their title shot that evening. Both men know each other so well by this point, meaning Benoit can duck out of a hook kick attempt from Booker while Booker sees a back elbow coming and he counters with a big slam. Booker ends up hitting that hook kick though when he prematurely breaks a test of strength. and he has to run at Benoit early to perform his back elbow. Even Mike Tenay picks up on the fact that both guys have to alter their setups a little to land moves and strike successfully. Benoit dodges the running forearm by grabbing onto the ropes, and a knee to the midsection sends Booker to the mat. The former TV champ then gets knocked out of the ring, and Benoit stays in control with a snap suplex when the match resumes. Booker then takes a backbreaker as the crowd begin chanting "Benoit sucks." Chris lands a hook clothesline, and the crippler thinks he's done enough to win the match. He signals for the headbutt, he goes up to the top rope, and there it is. Benoit had the perfect chance to win the series, but the headbutt stuns him too, and Booker has one last chance to keep the series going until the Great American Bash. Stevie Ray then shows up, he appeared in the previous match too, and Benoit gets seriously vicious. He throws Booker to the mat and he lays in a ton of kicks. Stevie pulls his brother out of the ring and he gives him a pep talk. Stevie tells Booker he needs to fight back, but Benoit isn't going to let Stevie coach his brother. Chris throws Booker back inside the ring, he lands a German suplex, but Booker somehow kicks out at 2. Booker then wakes up and he hits a spinning heel kick on Benoit. We then see there's his sidewalk slam! Benoit then gets flopjacked in the middle of the ring, but Chris stops Booker's momentum by throwing him into the middle turnbuckles. Chris then lays the boots in again, he throws Chris to the corner, Booker jumps over Chris for a surprise roll-up, and Booker T defeats Chris Benoit in match 6 of 7. Chris attacks Booker after the bout, and Stevie Ray has to jump in to stop Benoit, and this result means that both guys have now won 3 matches. The decider happens this week at the pay-per-view, and the winner must face Fit Finlay later in the show. Now, keep in mind that the deciding match ended up getting moved to Thunder before the pay-per-view, but that one ends in a no contest, so there's actually 2 match 7s that take place. I'll keep you updated on all this when I cover the Great American Bash later in the week. We've got 2 Cold Scorpio versus Owen Hart and Chainz versus Droz next on Raw. On Nitro, Hollywood Hogan cuts a promo. Jim Ross says Owen Hart could make history by becoming a 2-time King of the Ring tournament winner. He has to get past 2 Cold Scorpio first though. Wrist locks and hammerlocks to start off. Owen strikes first with a spinning wheel kick followed by a drop kick, and a baseball slide sends Scorpio into the guardrail when the action goes outside. Owen performs a plancha to keep 2 Cold at bay, but Scorpio comes back in with a picture-perfect diving crossbody. Scorpio stays in control with an arm drag, an arm bar, and a sidekick while still holding Owen by the wrist, and just as Owen comes back with a German suplex, Michael Cole lets us know that The Undertaker's gonna face Mankind in a Hell in a Cell match at the King of the Ring. Taker's apparently on his way to the building right now. Owen delivers a neckbreaker, he then goes upstairs for an elbow drop. He tries another high-risk move, but Scorpio gets a foot up. 2 Cold lands his jumping roundhouse kick, but he gets way too confident and he misses his moonsault. And this is where the match ends. Scorpio hits his leg on the way down, so Owen targets the injured body part. It only takes a few shots before Hart locks in a sharpshooter, and Owen wins via submission. Look at the face on Owen Hart here. That's a bad man right there, ladies and gents. Undertaker then arrives at the building and he instantly goes looking for Mr. McMahon. Vince, however, is nowhere to be found. The Chainz versus Droz match then gets underway, and surprisingly, Chainz defeated Droz in around 2.5 minutes. It was pretty much all Chainz from bell to bell, and the biker Michael Liker won the match with a Death Valley driver. No one gains anything here though, because the Undertaker hits the ring and both guys get chokeslammed. Taker then waits for Vince to show up, but Vince is too busy talking nonsense to these recognisable names in the mad, crazy world of organised charities. Football players George Martin and Darnell Audrey. Taker leaves the ring to go looking for Vince, and Raw moves on. On Nitro, Hogan has another Chinese proverb for Bret Hart: a job is something that doesn't work for I, brother. But come the Great American Bash, Roddy Piper and Randy Savage will be doing the job in the tag team match from hell. Savage is going to be known as the man who made 2 big mistakes in his career. The first was stepping up to the Hitman and Hogan at the pay-per-view, and the second was joining the red and black attack that Hogan's gonna knock back, Jack. I like it. And Hogan then has a pretty big surprise lined up for the Macho Man. Hogan says there's a reason the Auburn Hills hotties aren't here right now. Hogan giveth and Hogan taketh away. So Hogan's taking back Miss Elizabeth and putting her back in the black and white. She seems happy about this too. Remember, it was Hogan who presented Savage with Miss Elizabeth way back last year, but Liz is now with Hollywood. The Hulkster says he's gonna run wild on what Savage used to have. And yeah, that's it. Randy's once again lost Miss Elizabeth. We've got a DX promo next on Raw's War, while Norman Smiley takes on Fit Finlay on Nitro. It's kind of funny how Booker T and Chris Benoit have been going to war to become #1 contender for the television title, yet Eddie Guerrero, Mike Enos, and now Norman Smiley all get shots for the title on Nitro. This one's pretty much all Fit Finlay though, with Norman only getting a few chances to get in any kind of offense. This one also features the first ever wave in WCW Nitro history. The fans were having fun here, and it's always great to see this when watching at home. Norman got in an arm drag, a dropkick, and an armbar before Finlay started dominating the match. On the outside, Norman got another brief break when Finlay punched the ring post, but Smiley doesn't stay in control for very long. Finlay utilizes an armbar to soften up the challenger. He then pulled off a fireman's carry front roll. We see the tombstone piledriver, and Fit Finlay retains the television title. The DX Army come down to the ring on Raw. X-Pac tells the fans to make a little noise. Triple H tells the fans to prepare their mouths and get ready to suck it.
Shut up. Shut up.
Hunter was just about to address the nation, but LOD 2000 walked down the ramp. Animal says Triple H shouldn't be concerned about the nation because the Legion of Doom became #1 contenders at the last WWF pay-per-view. Tonight they want their title shots against Road Dogg and Billy Gunn. Hunter tells Animal to stop yelling. All the LOD needed to do was ask, so Triple H agrees to the title match tonight on Raw. Here come Biker Michael Liker, Skull and 8-Ball, and Triple H says, can anyone cut a promo around here? And yeah, I agree. I guarantee these two goons want a title shot too. Yeah, of course they do. Hunter holds a DX meeting to sort this mess out, and he comes up with a great solution. He says, seeing as DX can't fight all these guys at once, all 4 of these men in the ring can suck it. Yeah, that works. Commissioner Buzzkill comes down to the ring and he says both the LOD and DOA are #1 contenders, so he orders a triple threat tag team match for Raw tonight. 3 teams, 1 match. Whoever wins becomes tag team champions. Undertaker's so annoyed at this awful booking that he begins wrecking the catering area. I don't blame him. No one, including The Undertaker, wanted to see this. Following this carnage, we get another Edge vignette, and this one includes all the voice samples used in his entrance theme.
You think you know me, but you will never know me. You don't know yourself. You are lost and scared. You know what I allow you to know. You're just a puppet who thinks he's alive.
The Battle of the Big Boys takes place next on Raw. Vader versus Mark Henry. On Nitro, Sting cuts a promo. Yeah, it's been a while since I've said that. The Stinger gets in the ring and Tony Schiavone wants to know about this upcoming match against the Giant at the Bash. Sting takes the mic and... Sting says at the very first Great American Bash he had blonde hair. He was a nice guy and he was a little brat, but he was a little brat who beat up big guys just like the Giant. Now that Sting's grew his hair out and now that he's a seasoned veteran, he's become a whole lot meaner. Yeah, long hair turns you into a big old meanie. Sting tells Giant to get off the champagne, leave the Auburn Hill hotties alone, put out the cigarettes because the big man's looking a bit out of shape. Sting's got the Giant's number. It'll be a Scorpion Death Drop or a Scorpion Deathlock that ends the match. And Sting ends the promo by saying he owns the Giant. He also tells Tony Schiavone that it was nice to talk again. What do you guys think about the Wolfpac tomato face, embarrassed blushing Sting? Let me know in the comments. The Raw match starts off with both guys getting in each other's faces and Vader tries everything he can to put Mark on the mat. Running at Mark doesn't work, striking Mark doesn't work, Vader even tries a belly-to-belly suplex, but that too does not work. Mark picks Vader up for a big old body slam, he then pulls off an elbow drop followed by a leg drop, and it looks like Vader's no match for big Mark Henry. The crowd chant Vader's name as he gets punished in the corner, and then Vader's able to knock Mark down a few times. He delivers a short arm clothesline, and it's Henry who takes a body slam next. Vader goes to the top rope, but Henry catches Vader in mid-air for a big power slam. This looked great, but it got no reaction. The match ends when The Undertaker walks down to the ring and the Phenom dishes out more choke slams. Taker says he wants Vince McMahon, and then the dead man walks away. Vince did say he was going to be out here again for this Humanatarian award ceremony, so, you know, just sit in the back and wait, big man. Chill out with Takamichi Noku or something. Another King of the Ring qualifier next. D'Lo Brown versus Dan the Man Severn. On Nitro, we've got a Roddy Piper promo. So Tony Schiavone stays in the ring to interview Piper next, and Piper gets his usual cheap pop by mentioning the local sports team. Piper tells Rodman to take the plaid off because there's no such thing as a green-haired Scotsman. I bet there is, Hot Rod. Roddy then says the tag match at the Bash includes Hollywood Hogan from Venice Beach, Bret Hart from Calgary, Roddy Piper from Glasgow, and Randy Savage from a test tube. Match didn't really like that one, so Randy comes down to the ring and Piper wonders what version of Savage he's gonna get here. Piper says he and Macho need to stick together just for this tag team match, but Randy says he wants to fight. He also says he's not a mark, so that's good to know. Piper makes it clear that he's going to kick Savage's ass after the tag team match from hell, but Randy wants to do it tonight. So Hulk Hogan puts an end to this bickering by once again showing up in the DJ booth. Hogan laughs at Piper and Savage before hitting Randy where it hurts. He tells Miss Elizabeth to come out, and by God, she puts Eric Bischoff in a devastating lip lock while Bret Hart declares that Eazy-E definitely has the jam. Hogan says, unlike Randy Savage, Eric Bischoff doesn't need Viagra tonight, and Randy he doesn't look too happy, of course. Bret Hart's reaction is pure gold. This man just keeps giving me stuff to work with. Randy says he got over Miss Elizabeth a long time ago, so this doesn't really affect him. But Savage will never ever get over Hulk Hogan. Sounds pretty sexy, eh? Randy also says he's not over Roddy Piper before sucker punching the Hot Rod, and the NWO Black and White absolutely loved this turn of events. Piper gets up and Savage gets nailed with a right hand, and that's how it ended. I went into this one kinda expecting another Piper and Savage promo that went nowhere, but I actually enjoyed this a lot. Even the veterans can surprise you sometimes on WCW Nitro. On Raw, D'Lo's chances of advancing in the King of the Ring were quite slim, but God loves a trier, so D'Lo smacks the Beast across the face. He then realizes he made a big mistake when Dan tries to rip his throat out. Severn breaks a waistlock and D'Lo gets taken down. Dan ends up taking a back elbow and a spinning wheel kick, but these kind of moves don't hurt the Beast, they just annoy the Beast. Dan captures D'Lo for a belly-to-belly suplex. He then hits a clothesline. He throws D'Lo into the corner and he screams before laying in a ton of knee strikes. D'Lo tries the waistlock again, but give it up, man, give it up. Dan the Man performs a German suplex. He then applies a modified bow and arrow submission, and D'Lo has no choice but to submit. There's no shame in submitting to Dan Severn. Owen Hart then appears from nowhere and he launches an attack on Dan. Hop along Kenny Boy Shamrock shows up with his injured ankle, but he's way too slow. Owen manages to escape and Raw moves on to its next match. Dan Severn meets Owen Hart in the King of the Ring quarterfinals.
Disco fever, yeah, 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 yeah.
Disco Inferno versus Dean Malenko on Nitro. Val Venus battles Dustin Runnels on Raw. Not much to say about the Disco match except that ring gear, man. That's quite a feast for the eyes, isn't it? Disco's gear completely messed up the colours on my TV, and now I need to get a repairman in to fix the damn thing. Dean Malenko tries to literally kick the colours out of Disco's tights, but it doesn't work. So he instead hits a power slam, a back body drop, and Disco has to grab the bottom rope when Dean goes for a cloverleaf. Disco pulls off his swinging neckbreaker, he hits a body slam, and he then dances for a bit before paying homage to Paul Orndorff with the wonderful elbow drop. And an inverted atomic drop's going to be the last thing Disco does in this match. Malenko lands a jumping back kick, he locks in the Texas Cloverleaf, and Dean Malenko wins the match. Dean tells Chris Jericho that the belt's right here. All Jericho needs to do is come and take it away. On Raw, Val Venus says he and Dennis Rodman have a lot in common. They're both called the Worm. Dennis dominates the boards while Val Venus dominates the broads. Great. I was kinda looking forward to this one, and Dustin Runnels looked great when he fired up in the early portion of the match. Venus got in a back suplex before slowing it down with a sleeper hold and a camel clutch, but the big Val Boski got smashed on Dustin's knee, and Jim Ross wondered if Val took out a Lloyds of London policy for his wee worm. Dustin hits a clothesline from the top rope. He follows this up with a bulldog, and then the Undertaker shows up to chokeslam everyone inside again. I mean, we get the message by now, right? I thought Dustin was good here, and I wish we got to see more, but that's how it ended. We've got that triple threat tag team title match next on Raw. On Nitro, Hogan cuts another promo, plus we've got Goldberg versus Chavo Guerrero. You know, I was really looking forward to the DX Army stuff on Raw following WrestleMania 14, but gotta be honest, I'm not having a great time watching their stuff at the moment. I really don't remember these constant, predictable tag team matches on Raw every week, but hopefully it gets better soon. Before the match begins, we see The Undertaker assaulting Sergeant Slaughter in the dressing room. Again, I think we get the message. And back in the arena, Hunter and X-Pac watch the match from the stage while Chyna stands at ringside. Animal takes out both Outlaws with running power slam, so Billy Gunn tags in the 8-ball. Hunter and X-Pac discuss strategy while Animal tags in Road Dogg, and because Jesse James acted the maggot, he ends up taking a double big boot from 8-ball and Skull. We get Outlaws tagging in Road Warriors tagging in Biker Michael Likers, and all this makes X-Pac very, very confused. He's like, I've no idea what's going on. And indeed, it is a bit messy here. There's no flow to the match at all, and it feels, I don't know, very random in terms of who tags in and who tags out. Like there was no pre-planning done at all. Finally, Animal gets the bright idea of tagging in Road Dogg while Billy Gunn was also tagged in. Hawk told Jesse James to suck it before getting into the ring, but Road Dogg declined. And then Chyna tells Road Dogg exactly what he needs to do. James gets in the ring, he gets sent into Gunn, and the two collide into each other. We think Road Dogg and Badass are going to fight, but then Road Dogg lays down for his partner and the New Age Outlaws win the match. I don't think I've ever witnessed a tag team as dumb as LOD during their final WWF run, swear to God. As for the DOA, well, you don't have high expectations anyway, so whatever. On Nitro, someone asked Hulk Hogan how he ended up with all these Auburn Hill hotties, and he answered with another ancient Chinese proverb. He said, you catch more flies with honey, but you catch more honeys when you're fly. The girls groaned at Hulk Hogan's wit, but they perked up again when they remembered how much they were being paid to sit beside philosopher Hogan. Anyway, nothing to say here really. Remember Hogan said he was going to reveal the second biggest man in Hollywood tonight? Yeah, well, it was Scott Steiner. We see footage of Steiner on the set of Hulk's latest movie. Shadow Warriors 2, Return to Death Assault Land, Revenge on the Island 3, Fu Manchu, Vengeance, Ninja Gaiden, Resurrection, Champion Edition, Director's Cut 4, and Scott then joins Hollywood and his Fast Company to say NWO's too sweet, NWO's for life, all that cutting edge stuff. The best part of this was Scott Steiner meeting John Kreese on set. Let me know who you think would win in a fight, Kreese or Big Papa Pump. You don't need to tell me who would win in a fight between Goldberg and Chavo Guerrero though. Chavo made the same mistake most people make when wrestling the US champion. He tried to launch a surprise attack at the opening bell, and this didn't work. Goldberg threw Chavo to the other side of the ring. He pulled off a pump handle fallaway slam that looked awesome. We got to see the military press power slam that ranks up there as one of my favourite Goldberg moves. Spear, jackhammer, Goldberg wins, and Mike tonight says this is 99-0. Since Nitro last week, Goldberg defeated Barbarian and Hugh Morris in a 2-on-1 handicap match. There were another 3 victories over Saturn at house shows, along with a win over Leroy Howard on Worldwide on the 6th of June, so the real total right now is 95-0. Vince McMahon receives his Humanatarian Award to close out Raw. On Nitro, the Wolfpac want to know if DDP's joining the Red and Black. The Wolfpac get in the ring and now says it's crunch time. Big Sexy calls out DDP. It's time for Dallas to make his decision. DDP comes out and Tony Schiavone brings a mic over. Dallas says he's feeling a whole lot of love in Motor City, and he's even feeling it from Randy Savage. He says when Kevin Nash left the Black and White, Big Sexy showed everyone he had a heart. He took Conan with him, he brought in Kurt Hennig, Savage was already there, but then when the Wolfpac got Lex Luger and Sting, it blew Dallas's mind. DDP knows the Wolfpac want him in, he grabs his shirt and he says he can't believe he's about to do this. It looks like Paige is going to join the Red and Black attack, but then Dennis Rodman and Hollywood Hogan attack Paige from behind. DDP gets taken out with chair shots, and Nitro ends with the Wolfpac running over to check on Dallas. Sounds to me like DDP's going to join the boys, but we'll find out more later in the week maybe. Not a great ending to Nitro by the way, but let's switch over and check out Raw's War. Al Snow tried to attend the ceremony, but he was taken away by police. That meeting with Vince McMahon's going to have to get put on hold. Cops backstage have cornered The Undertaker, so the Phenom won't be getting involved in this ceremony either. McMahon, Patterson and Briscoe come down to the ring, Austin shows up and he's definitely dressed for the occasion. Vince says this is a black tie event, and Austin wonders if Vince McMahon's blind or something. Kevin Kelly introduces George Martin first, and George thanks McMahon for his recent financial contribution to the MAN or Man Foundation. However, it was also much less than what Vince had promised. What a cheapskate. The check also bounced twice. McMahon couldn't show up to the foundation to visit the kids, but still, George shakes McMahon's hand while giving him his plaque. He also makes sure to let Vince know that, on a personal note, Steve Austin's his favourite wrestler. Darnell Audrey of the Chicago Bears, representing the Hollis Payton Foundation, gives McMahon another plaque, although Darnell's pretty sure Vince never made a donation to the cause. Darnell also says that Steve Austin's his favourite wrestler, and Austin's absolutely loving it. Vince thanks George and Darnell. He thanks the fans. He says he humbly yet deservedly accepts this award tonight, and Vince says he most definitely deserves this accolade. Vince says this award will sit among all his other awards that he's got at home. And then Steve Austin pickpockets McMahon and he takes all the cash out of his back pocket. $1,200. Austin hands the money over to Darnell on behalf of Vince, and Austin wants fans to give him a hell yeah if they think Vince McMahon should get the Jackass of the Year award. Austin's music then plays in the arena, but it gets cut off when the lights go out. Taker's theme song then plays, and Droz bring a coffin down to the ring. Mankind then appears behind Stone Cold and he launches an attack. Kane then emerges from the coffin, and Austin has no hope here. Vince cheers for Kane and Mankind as they beat Austin up before throwing him in the coffin, and Raw ends with Kane setting his pyro off while standing over a defeated Stone Cold. It was all a big setup. McMahon went through all this just to get one up on the WWF champion. Both shows were alright this week, but we've seen better recently. Booker T and Benoit stole the show once again on Nitro, but the show also had way too many NWO promos along with some bad matchups. Raw had a few good matches. Owen Hart vs Scorpio and D'Lo vs Severn wasn't bad either, but for me, The Undertaker's interference got pretty old pretty fast. The McMahon and Austin stuff was alright too, but I think they've done better work in the past. So I'm going to call this one a draw. I really can't recommend one over the other. Raw has 64 points, Nitro has 57, and now we've got 16 ties. In the TV ratings, Raw won with a 4.3. Nitro scored a 4. The Great American Bash is next up on the channel, so fingers crossed that gets uploaded on time because, funny story, my graphics card died while scripting out this very video and I'm going to have to rely on integrated graphics to edit and render out Reliving the War and probably the Great American Bash too. Absolutely wonderful. Anyway, the Bash includes Booker vs Benoit in the best of 7 final match, Chris Jericho vs Dean Malenko, the tag team match from Hell featuring Hogan, Bret, Savage and Piper, and we've also got the Giant vs Sting. I hope you join me later in the week and I hope I can get the video made somehow. Thank you very much for watching guys, I hope you enjoyed it and take care.